Irashaimase! Hello and welcome to Fitaurus Kitchen. I'm your host, Chef Fitaurus. It's time once again for Shoot 'em Up Saturday, and on the menu this Saturday we have Hell is Other Demons, an awesome bullet hell platformer. What kind of taste will it have? Let's get cooking and find out. From developer Cuddle Monster Games, Hell is Other Demons released in mid-April for the Nintendo Switch and PCs. The game has you playing this role of a demon taking out other demons, and, well, it's just awesome. I love this one. It's a really great game. So what kind of gameplay do we have? Well, here we are at the main menu, and you can play the game in two different ways. You can go through the campaign, or you can play it in arcade mode. And between the two, I love the arcade mode. It's really, really addicting. But we'll start by showing off the campaign. As you dive into the campaign, you're taken to this grid where we start up here at the intro, then you work your way through the tutorial, and then you get to the stages where you're actually battling in. And it goes on for quite a ways, where there are different boss battles to be had, there's shops you can go through, and there are infinite stages that we can jump into to grind for gems. So once you select a stage, you're taken to this equipment screen. Here, I have things kind of laid out how you would be from your base equipment. You start off with just a machine gun, pew pew pew, the chest laser, the strong laser beam, and then you don't have any upgrades. And each of these have a cost associated with them. And you'll see that there's a meter with these bars on them. The more powerful the upgrade or the weapon you have equipped, the more it will cost. Once you've decided on your equipment, you click play, and we're taken into the stage itself. Boneyard Bridge. So we have the ability to move around the stage and jump. We do by default have a double jump, but it's possible to even get a higher jump and a triple jump. We also have the ability to dash, and we can fire our weapon. Depending on the weapon, there is knockback, so you'll have to keep that in mind. Oh, another thing that we can also do is you can also stomp on enemies. So each stage has 3 different achievements you can potentially get from them. The first is not taking any damage. The second is not using your ultimate, which you need to unlock via taking out the enemies and picking up a power-up. And the third is to defeat the stage with no weapon selected. Definitely a challenge, but it is possible. So as we destroy the enemies, they'll drop gems. We can collect those gems. They'll get sucked into us, kind of in a like bullet hell style. What if we stop shooting and we're close enough? It is possible to get upgrades, which will extend the range that we can suck in the gems. But at this point, I actually haven't purchased that upgrade. As I thought, I'm okay without it, and it's actually quite expensive. So between stages, it's possible to go into the store. In this case, this is the Goat Whisperer store. And from here, we can buy things like the machine gun, which you actually start with by default, wave gun, the twin shooters, and other fun upgrades as well, which we can also increase our load so we can equip better and more gear. We can also upgrade our long dash, get additional life, explode when taking damage, boom, and true aim. So as you progress through all the stages, there's different areas on the map. And those areas are represented by different color schemes. So the Boneyard kind of has this blue and red color scheme. Then we go on to the Pus Works, and it's this green and purple color. There's also the Factory with its nice dark gray and yellow. And then there's also the Labs, which is just all these different shades of red. Each area has its own boss as well. There's the Devourer, there's the Luminous, we also have the Lurker, and the first boss you'll encounter, the Oppressor. So just to give you an idea of some other kinds of gameplay, we'll go and have a look at the Devourer. For this particular boss, I'll equip the twin shooters, which fires both ways. The ultimate's not really going to matter on this one. And then let's take a bunch of health. Longer jump, more jump, and we'll also have our bullets move faster and farther. Oh, We don't have enough for everything. I also do want the rapid fire. So once we have all of that equipped, we start the stage, and some of the bosses are wave-based, where this one we're just basically starting off with the Devourer itself. So the Devourer comes from the left, and we have to take it out. So the reason I took the particular weapon I did is it fires both directions, so we can still be moving right and still shooting the boss himself. So this fight's also pretty awesome, as we'll encounter these barrels, which if we don't destroy them, if the boss happens to pass them, they'll explode and deal damage to the boss. We can use our dash to make it past these chains or saw blades without taking damage. We have to avoid those barrels. We continue to deal more damage. The boss will eventually start showing the damage. So even with a gun that can fire behind us, it's actually, you have to be really careful with how you progress through these fights. One like this one is still very easy to die, and that's the thing, is in a lot of stages you won't go and get through your first time, but that's alright. You still save the gems that you get from your attempt, and the progression curve of this game is really excellent. You can use those gems to buy upgrades and make the stages easier if you're having problems tackling them. I love that kind of progression curve, and this game really scratches that itch. Exiting back to the main menu, let's go and show off Arcade a little bit. So in Arcade, we move ourselves through stages in a linear progression rather than choosing which stage we want to go to off of a map. But one of the really awesome things is we get to select different characters. So you start with the Rebel, and the Rebel just has the basic equipment you start the campaign with. But as you progress, you'll accumulate gems, and those gems will give you unlocks. We can pull up the unlocks here. For the most part, they're just color schemes, but we get to the point where we're unlocking characters like the Tank and the Wizard. I love playing as the Wizard, really fun. Then the one I've most recently unlocked, the Warrior, and that one, actually, that's totally my playstyle for this game, so we'll show off the Warrior as well. But each character has his own different starting equipment, and at least off the bat, you can't change his equipment. And some of them, you can't even change his weapon. Others, it is possible to get and pick up different weapons as we go. The Warrior is not one of those characters. He's a close-range character where we're fighting with this blade. So it's a little less of a run-and-gun style shoot-'em-up this way, and more of an action platformer where we're using a sword-based character, but there's still some great technique that you need to use. We also have start with the game with a triple jump. There's also, in his special, is the awesome, let's see if I can find some good enemies that we want to use it against. Dash charge, where you charge across the entire screen, dealing massive damage to the enemies that you hit. So once we complete each wave, we move on to the next, and if you get enough gems on the stage, you will level up and get to choose an upgrade between stages. So here we can get the Ojiro boots, so that's downwell up, that's the reference. And this game really kind of has that kind of downwell feel, especially since you can stomp on the enemies. Oh, and stomping on the enemies allows you to refresh your jumps. So there are some stages where there is no ground, and you need to use that kind of technique to be able to survive in the stage. It's really awesome. So as we progress through the arcade mode, we just continue to fight stages and waves like this, achieving more and more gems. And oh, I do not like those guys, not at all. Another thing that we do have is actually the ability to collect multipliers. In the campaign, you don't get multipliers for your gems, but in arcade mode, the longer you're alive, you can build up to a 3 times multiplier, which makes it really easy to continue accumulating more gems. So I just got the upgrade overcharge, so if I pick up a heart container, or rather a heart, while I'm at full life, I'll actually get another heart container, basically more life, to be able to take additional hits. It's a really awesome upgrade. especially if we're having good times getting up close and personal with these enemies. Although I think we might actually be at maximum life, so the upgrade didn't do us a ton of good. So certain enemies will deal more damage, so you do have to be careful with that. These flying saw blades have, if they actually touch us, will deal 2 points of damage rather than just 1. We can use the invulnerability of the dash to dash through those UFOs' laser beams. And bam, that's the first stage of the factory that we get to see there. So that's basically, ooh, nice. Rapid fire, which actually isn't very useful for the blade weapon, but still, it's nice to have. And there you have it. Hell is Other Demons served up for your enjoyment. So, as far as minus flavors are concerned, I don't really have many. If anything, the only real complaint I have is I wish there were a few more weapon choices, as it would be nice to be able to change things up and try a couple different playstyles. But as is, I kind of feel like the gun selection is just a little limited. That's really about it. As far as the plus flavors are concerned, well, first off, just the gameplay just feels so smooth. The movement is so easy and responsive. And there's really a lot of tech we have here, from being able to go and dash through enemies and enemy bullets to not take damage, to be able to use a dive to actually drop yourself down fast if you happen to need to get out of the way of enemy bullets, like so. To the ability to stomp enemies, to get double jumps, to go and get triple jumps. The movement and just the base gameplay is so solid in this, whether you're using a weapon that's close range like the blade, or if you happen to be using the base machine gun, or the chain gun, which that one's got some massive recoil, but still, it's a fun weapon to use. Then there's also the graphical presentation of the game, just the 4-color scheme that they went with, and the changing colors, which just really encapsulate the areas that you're in really well. So now we're seeing the pus works here. The green and purple appearances are really great. There's also a little bit of, just a quick side note, there are traps and, in this case, the geysers, and they do actually play fair in that they will damage the enemies as well. It's really nice when you have a dangerous environment that doesn't play well with the enemies that you're fighting as well. Then the whole upgrade tree and the way you can build up your character is something I love to go and see, and not just shoot 'em ups, but any game really. And then, of course, the last plus flavor that I've got, this mode, the arcade mode, where we can just grind out on these stages for higher scores and better unlocks. Getting different characters and just testing yourself in the leaderboards. That's one thing that this game does also have. There are online leaderboards, so as of this recording, I kind of feel that my Switch score is not bad. I feel I can do better, but I'm still pleased with it. So, there we have it. A very, very solid recommendation from Chef Fitaurus. This is a title that, if you're a fan in the least of run-and-gun style platformers, then I recommend you give this one a try. Alright, so that'll just about wrap it up for this week's episode of Shoot 'em Up Saturday. As always, I want to thank you so much for coming out and joining me, and I look forward to seeing you again next week.